All right, guys, come into the mat. We're gonna curl and lay back, head on the head back, and we're gonna find that nice little neutral spine. I said head on the headrest like we're getting on the reformers. I think that was just, wishful thinking. We're gonna interlace our fingers, bring our hands back behind our head, and we're gonna stretch our mid back. So I want you to fold your elbows in, round the back, and then tilt your hips back. So feel as much of your spine connect to your mat as you possibly can as you pull your elbows in, stretching along the spine, and then hold that connection of as much vertebrae as you can. And then we're gonna pull the elbows apart, open the chest, flatten the shoulder blades down against the mat as you draw the abdominals in, and then elbows fold in. Rounding, elbows come forward, we tilt the hips back, and then we open. Opening the chest, elbows flare out to the side, and fold. One last fold, we'll fold in, drawing the rib cage together, pulling navel to spine, and then we're gonna open, and then let's arch the back. Elbows are open, flared out to the side, pressing down to the floor. We're gonna arch to the tailbone, lifting the mid and low back up off of the mat. There's a little flare of the rib cage as well. And then we'll tilt the hips back, imprint as much of the spine down against the mat as we can, finding that C curve, that hollowing as we pull our core to our spine. And we roll along this back towards the tailbone, towards the bottom of the sacrum, arching the spine, ribs flare. And then curl back. Tilting back, collarbone spreads wide, and last one. Nice big arch of the back, heavy through the tailbone, rib cage flares, and we'll come back to neutral. Reset the arms, reset the shoulders and the hands that are interlaced behind the head. We'll move into our chest lift. Little gap at the low back, we exhale to fold along the mid ribs to lift. And we're gonna hold for a breath, and we'll rotate and twist to the right, through to center, rotate and twist to the left, come back to the middle, curl and reset. So we're gonna go chest lift, and then chest lift right into our rotation. Twist, twist. Back to center, and working that reset. Nice deep fold at the bra line. And we fold and twist. Rolling back, arching back, coming forward, finding that rotation through the mid ribs, right across the bra line, right below the pecs. We're keeping that movement out of our low back. And one more. Resetting back to the mat, arms are gonna come nice and long down by your side. We'll walk our legs together, squeezing through inner thighs. Let's move our arms out to the side just a little bit to give some space. We're gonna once again twist through the mid ribs as we drop the legs, the hips, the low back over to the right, anchoring that left shoulder blade. And ribs and abs draw in. Coming back to center, and we twist over to the other side. Moving from side to side. Finding that movement through the mid-back, feeling the weight of the shoulder blades flatten and spread across the mat. Last one each side. And we'll come back to center. We'll separate the feet, separate the legs. We're gonna bring our arms up towards the ceiling. Fingertips are reaching up with the elbows and arms nice and straight. And then we'll bring our legs to tabletop with that little gap between the knees and that space between the low back and the floor. On our inhale, the right side, arm and leg are gonna move away. We're gonna reach back and forward. Moving away from your center line, bringing that arm back towards an overhead position without the ribs over flaring or the back lifting up off of the mat. Last two on this right side. You can bring that right arm right overhead or out to the side a little bit as well. If you've got some shoulder mobility that you need to work around, we're going to switch to that left side. I start a little shallow to begin with, not full range for that first one or two, and then start to work out to full range. Reaching out nice and long with that left leg, that left arm goes overhead. Last one. And we'll draw the knees towards the chest, round the back, stretch the spine. And we'll fold and lift the head, neck, and chest, bring legs to tabletop, hands rest at the knees, and into single leg stretch. Right leg glides forward as we pull that left knee in, anchoring the tailbone, anchoring the sacrum against the mat. We're changing and alternating sides. Pressing and reaching that leg away. Reaching out nice and long. Pressing forward. Keeping that deep fold at the mid ribs. We'll go two more each side. And we'll hug the knees in, drop the shoulders, drop the head. Reach for the toes. We'll move into that wide knee stretch, and we'll rock from hip to hip. You can grab the back of the legs or hold on to the foot as we open and stretch. Returning back to tabletop, keeping that space between each leg, we'll move back into our dead bug progression with arms straight up towards the ceiling. We're going to work our diagonals. Right arm and left leg are going to move away. Again, I'm going to move about halfway and back. I'm going to stay just on this diagonal. And now for my third one, I'm going to reach out as far as I can. Draw the abdominals in, ribs and abs knit tight to the back, to the center line, and reset. Shoulders are pulling down and in, collarbone is spreading wide, ribs and abs knit in. One more, working that right arm, left leg. And reset to center. Neck is long, shoulders are pulled apart, collarbone is spreading wide, and left arm, right leg. Half movement for that first one or two reps. And now we'll move away. Reach as far as you can with that arm, with the leg. Inhale as you reach, bracing hard. Keeping that tightness through the abdominal wall. One more. And we'll hug the knees back towards the chest, round the back, let the chest open. Collarbone pulling apart. And we'll fold at the mid-ribs, lifting the head, neck, and chest as we bring those legs to tabletop and move into our double leg stretch. Again, I'm going to scale the movement. Arms and legs on the inhale go straight up and back to start. I'm going to work a little farther on the next one, opening a little bit more. Each rep, I'm going to try to open that position, the space between my arms and my legs. Keeping the chest lifted. Last 3. Nice big inhale as you open, and slow to reset. Shoulders flatten to the back, hug the knees in towards the chest. Let the head twist and look out over that right shoulder to allow the left side of the neck to stretch and open. And we twist and we come back to center. Now look out over that left shoulder. Right side of the neck is stretching. And we'll twist back to the right. Looking out over that right shoulder, we look, and then chin lifts to look up to the top right corner of your mat. Chin drops back to neutral, and we twist. Head looks left. Shoulders flatten against the mat, and then chin lifts. We look up into that top left corner of the mat. Back to neutral, and reset the head and the neck. Feet come back to the mat with knees bent right in line with your sit bones. Our arms are reaching nice and long down by our side. Let's move into our shoulder bridges, into our pelvic curls. On the exhale, our hips will tilt back. Finding that C curve, we're going to scoop, curl, and articulate up off of the mat, one segment, one vertebra at a time, keeping that fold along the mid-rib so we're not arching the back or flaring the rib cage. And working back to the mat, piece by piece, down through the rib cage, along the spine, segment by segment, all the way through towards the tailbone. Reaching the arms nice and long, and we exhale to tilt. Curling and peeling up off of the mat. Collarbone spreads wide, ribs and abs knit in. And we curl and roll down. Exhale to tilt. Peeling up off of that mat, one segment at a time. Pulling in through inner thighs, feeling that tension draw to your center line. Last 2. We're sending the knees forward towards the toes. Arms will come out to a T position, palms up towards the ceiling. We'll bring our legs to tabletop, keeping a space between each knee. And we're going to alternate our leg changes. Foot drops to the mat, keeping the knee bent as we change from side to side. Nice and smooth transitions. We're allowing the leg to move freely in the hip. The lower the foot comes to the mat, the more we're drawing the abdominals up and in, zipping up from the hips to the chest, keeping that torque out of the hip as we change from side to side. Two more each side. And we'll rest the feet to the mat. Let's go to butterfly pose, soles of the feet together, knees fall out to the side. Let's stretch through inner thigh as well as the whole front of the chest. We're gonna flatten and sink into our mat, focusing on that breath as everything opens and stretches. One more breath. And we'll slow to unwind those legs. Keeping our arms at our T position, we'll bring our legs to tabletop. We're going to work into our spine twist. On our inhale, we're going to twist along the mid ribs to transition the lower back, hips and legs to the right. Bracing through the core the farther the legs travel, and exhale back to center. We're rolling from hip to hip, pocket to pocket. We're flattening those shoulder blades against the mat. Ribs and abs are knitted in. Rocking from hip to hip. Nice smooth transitions from side to side, drawing that straight line across the ceiling with the knees. Two more each side. And we'll hold at center. Fingers will interlace. Let's bring our hands back behind our head. We'll fold, we'll lift the head, neck, and chest. And we're going to hinge at the hip. Inhale, feet and legs lower towards the mat, keeping that knee bend. And exhale back to tabletop. Midline stays tight. We fold deep at the mid ribs. The lower the feet get, the more we're going to brace. Working that inhale as the legs lower. Last three. Keeping the chest lifted, that deep fold across the brow line. And knees hug into the chest. Left leg extends out along the mat as we draw that right knee in tighter towards the chest and shoulder. And we'll transfer that right leg, cross body, as the right arm opens out to our T. That right leg goes left. We twist to the left slightly, lifting that right hip. We're going to deepen that stretch in the right hip as we twist. Still trying to twist through the mid rib. You can even look out over that right arm, right shoulder. And then we'll come back to center. Changing sides, that right leg reaches and stretches out long across your mat, pressing down towards the floor as you pull the left knee in, drawing it towards the chest, towards the shoulder. Left arm opens out to the T. Left leg crosses that center line, twisting over to the right. We're opening and stretching the hip on that left side, twisting through the mid-ribs for that rotation and stretch. And we'll look out over the left arm, the left shoulder, as we work into that stretch and rotation. One more breath. And slow to unwind. Legs are nice and straight. Pulling together, reaching out long and strong out over the mat. Arms are going to go up overhead, and on the inhale, the arms flow forward. We lift the head, neck, and chest. We move into our roll-up curl. Curling forward, stretching out long over the mat, reaching for the toes. Finding that rounding in the spine without too much shrug of the shoulders. And exhale, curl and roll back along the spine. Piece by piece, segment by segment. Working that articulation as the arms go overhead, we draw the ribs in. And inhale, slow to fold and lift. Exhale to scoop and curl. Drawing and curling up, keeping the shoulders seated down the back as we move forward and stretch long. And exhale, tilt the hips back, rounding the spine, curling down to the floor. Reaching out overhead. One more. Reaching out long, stretching forward. We'll curl and restack. We're going to reset our position so we can sit up nice and tall out of the hips and out of the sit bones. So we're going to go knees bent, feet flat to the mat, working a little bit of what we would do short box series wise on the reformer. Arms are going to come to the front. We're going to start with our round back. Our hips are going to tilt back, and we're going to curl the spine, rolling back. We'll roll back about halfway, pause for a breath, finding that fold at the mid-ribs. We're rolling and rounding, curling forward, and sitting up tall. Feeling that even weight from hip to hip as we round the back and curl back towards the mat. Exhale, tilt. Let's drop into butterfly stretch. Give our hip flexors a chance to decompress, hinging slightly forward with a flat back, proud chest towards the feet. And we'll sit up nice and tall, nice and long. Resetting the feet and the legs back to that flat-footed position with knees bent. We're going to work our flat back hinge. Hands are going to come to the chest, which will make it harder. If you want more help, arms will stay forward as a counterbalance. On the inhale, stretch the spine long and we hinge back at the hip. And exhale, sit forward, sit tall. Trying not to articulate through the lower half of the back. We want to hinge right there at the hip. You're falling back, leading with the back of the head. And again, you can always bring the arms forward, drop those shoulders, and use the arms as a counterweight to get more range. Last 3. And we're gonna change our stretch. I'm gonna lace my left foot under the right, wrap it around the right hip, and the right foot will come to the outside of that left knee, and we're gonna twist to the right, looking back over that right shoulder, right hip. Chest is lifted, sitting taller, sitting longer. And slow to unwind. We'll lace that right leg under the left, wrap it around towards that left hip. Left foot comes around to the outside of the right knee. And we're gonna twist. Looking out over that left shoulder, that left hip. We're sitting up nice and tall, stretching, working that rotation. One more breath. And then we'll unwind and we'll come back to center. Moving back to that bent knee position with the feet flat to the mat. We're gonna bring our arms out to a T, palms up towards the ceiling, and we're gonna twist through the mid ribs to the right, and we're gonna pulse for 1, 2. Sitting long, sitting tall, we go through center to the left. Arms are still pulling apart. We twist for that double pulse. And we change from side to side. Opening the chest, dropping the shoulders, reaching longer with the arms with each rotation. Last one to the left. And back to center. Let's come to a bit of a lunge stretch, so we'll transition. Bringing our right foot forward, our left knee to the ground, up to that tall position. You could also do this standing, and we're gonna drive the hips forward and down. Let's open and stretch that left thigh, left hip. Pressing that right knee forward over the center of the foot, maintaining that nice clean alignment of the hips, shoulders. One more breath. And we'll put the hands down to the mat on either side of that front right leg. We'll walk that right leg back and return and turn it into a center plank. Left leg straightens. We're on the ball of the foot. We're pushing up strong away from the floor. Squeezing through inner thighs, engaging those glutes as the ribs and the abs knit in, and we're gonna hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We'll drop our knees and we'll bring that left foot forward now. Coming up to our tall kneeling position, squaring off the torso, the hips and the legs, and we drive the hips forward and down. Opening and stretching the front of the right thigh, right hip. One more breath. And then hands to the mat. We're going to walk that left foot back, straight left leg, and pop up into that center plank. Straightening the right leg, finding that alignment of the arms underneath the shoulders, reaching and stretching farther with the legs as the ribs and the abs knit in. And we hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Dropping those knees, rounding the back, sitting back towards the heels, stretching out nice and long. One more breath. And we'll curl and restack. And let's come back to that seated position with knees bent and feet flat for a little bit of a rotational hinge. Again, we can go hands here at the chest or arms reaching to the front. And we're going to twist through the mid-ribs. I'll start by twisting to the left. Again, I'm twisting across the brow line, and I'm leaning back on that inhale, coming forward, unwinding, twisting right, and leaning straight back. Keeping the weight even from hip to hip. No twist through the low back or through the hips or the legs. As we move from side to side. One more each side. Arms come to the front, and we curl and roll all the way back. We'll move into our figure 4 stretch, walk the heels closer to the hips, and we'll cross that right ankle over the left. Bring the left leg to tabletop, reach through, grab the back of that left thigh, and create that gap in the small of the back so we can keep that stretch in the hip, and the right knee twists away, right leg twists away from the shoulder. One more breath. And we'll drop that right foot, cross that left ankle over the right thigh, and bring that right leg to tabletop, reach through, grab the back of the thigh, and we twist that left leg in and out. One more breath. And slow to unwind. Legs extend straight out, long and strong across the mat. Arms reach up for the ceiling, and we'll work back into a single roll up. We lift chin, dropping chin to chest, folding at the mid ribs, curl and round, reach forward. Let's separate the feet and the legs to mat width apart. Hinge at the ankle to draw the toes back towards the knees. And we'll sit up nice and tall. Bringing chin to chest, that forward fold will reach forward and through. Grab the legs, grab the feet, draw back and stretch. Pressing the back of the legs down against the mat. One more breath, and we'll curl and restack. Sitting up nice and tall, nice and long, and inhale, hinge back, flat back, proud chest. Sitting forward, sitting tall. 2 more, hinge. Trying to stretch long towards the ceiling after each rep. And then once again, chin to chest, reach and roll forward, stretch. Reaching long out over the legs, and curl and restack. Stretching long towards the ceiling, we inhale to hinge back and lift. 2 more. And last, forward reach. Rounding and curling, reaching out nice and long over the legs. One more breath. And we're going to work into a little bit of a hamstring stretch. It's specific for just the back of the leg. I'm gonna bend the right knee out to the side, but I'm gonna keep some space between the foot and the left leg. I wanna find my seated position strong up over the sit bones. Try to create that flat back, proud chest. As you hinge at the hip and lean forward out over that left leg. And then the left leg is gonna internally rotate from 12 o'clock over to 2 o'clock and back to center. The key is to ensure that the hip stays anchored to the mat and the leg, the knee, the shin, the foot, they all travel together. Neither piece is trying to move farther than what the thigh will allow from the hip. Flat back, proud chest, rotating in. We'll do one more rotation to 2 o'clock. And then we'll dive forward, grab for the foot, grab for the leg, reach and stretch, rounding the back and stretching up the back of the leg. Holding for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We'll reset and we'll change sides. Right leg is gonna go out. I'm gonna keep some space between my left foot and that leg, sitting up nice and tall up off of the hips. And I'm gonna hinge, flat back, proud chest. And this right leg is gonna internally rotate from 12 to 12 to 10 and back to 12. Again, right leg rotates in to 10 o'clock on a clock face. The leg, the knee, the shin, the foot, they're all traveling at the same pace, the same rate. Neither piece is trying to go farther. A lot of times we try to use the foot, the ankle to make it look like we got more movement, but I want it to all come from the hip, from the leg connecting in the hip. One more. And then we'll dive and reach forward, reach for that leg, reach for the foot, and stretch out over the thigh. Nice deep breath. Holding for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Curl and restack. One more butterfly stretch. Sitting up nice and tall, letting the knees drop out to the side. We hinge at the hip. Coming forward, extending the back, extending the spine as the knees fall to the floor. We'll bring chin to chest, drop the forehead towards the feet, rounding the back, curling the spine, letting the head hang to feel that stretch travel up the back. And we'll restack, sit tall. Let's cross our legs. Arms come up overhead, fingers interlace. We reach long for the ceiling and we hinge up to the right and center. Reach and stretch long and up and over to the left. Anchoring that opposite hip, one more each side. And arms rest down by your side. All right, guys. Awesome work today.